Hey everybody, it's Bill. I hope you're having a great snow day today. As per the university policy on a snow day, I'm supposed to give you an update on the course and how we're going to accommodate the material that we're going over. And so this will do that. And so what I hope that this video will do is kind of give you a review of the mind mapping stuff that we went over on Tuesday. Give you an example of the mind mapping activity that you can then go ahead and use this weekend to kind of help your process along, and also to be very clear about the expectations about what is due on Tuesday. The good news is that we got a little bit ahead in our last class on Tuesday in getting through a lot of the mind mapping material. So I think just with a little bit more information, you'll be able to take your mind maps past that first level and develop them quite fully and keep us on schedule. So I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to go over some of this new information. So first, continue to do your good time journals, especially today. It's a snow day, right? This is one of the best days and the most fun that you're going to have, especially early on in college. I still remember mine. So what I would encourage you to do is to be quite mindful today about the things that you're doing, who you're doing them with, the enjoyment that you're getting out of them, and be able to incorporate those into your good time journal, and then maybe using those activities in your mind map. For those of you that are taking the class at home, use the time today to engage and to do some other things, and those might be worthwhile things on your good time journal as well. And remember that the journal is a time to reflect not only on the activity, but the amount of engagement, energy, and then hopefully the flow that you enjoy as well. Now, we started the process of mind mapping, and in the context of the good designing your life, this was one of the brainstorming or expansive mindset ways to get yourself unstuck and to reframe a lot of the things that you're fussing with in problems in ways that you might be able to manage them a little bit better. And so when we left on Tuesday, your task was to review your good time journal, note activities in which you were engaged, energized, and in flow, choose one, and then go ahead and fill out the worksheet by identifying that activity and doing some 30-second brainstorming on the words that pop into your head, some free association for each of those activities. And so it may have ended up something like this. If you had an activity for engagement, an activity for energy, and an activity for flow, and then go ahead and free associate and fill these lines out for each of the different activities. And so I want to go through and kind of work through an example with you here. One of the things that folks talked about in their work and their life view, and when we checked in on the good time journals last week, was something about going home or reconnecting, right? And so if my good time journal reflected going home from the weekend and seeing my dog, and that was a time where I had high levels of engagement, really high energy, and in fact, might have even been flow, I might want to use that, right? Because that's a really moving, notable activity for me. So this is how it would look. If I'm doing my high engagement activity, I would go ahead and give it a name. What is it that I was doing? Going home and or seeing my dog. And then if I was to think about that activity or those words, what are the first things that come to mind? So jumping, happy, love, running, outdoors, they can be anything, right? But free association. There's not a right or a wrong statement to make here. It's a free association. Then I would take these words and bring them over to a great big sheet of paper. And I would encourage you to write these on a piece of paper and not do them electronically for a couple of reasons. One, it's easy to free associate when you write. And two, you're going to scan these things and turn them in as part of your presentations that'll be due a week from Saturday. So if my title is going home, what I then want to do is to connect my title to my 5 keywords. Those 5 keywords or those 5 associated words are then going to be used to brainstorm again. So I'm not paying attention to anything more than one word. I'm not paying attention to going home. And let's say that I'm going to use jumping for my first word, I'm not going to be paying attention to outdoor, running, love, or happy. I'm thinking just about jumping. And so if I start the clock and I come up with 5 things that I think of when I think of the word jumping, these might be them, right? It could have to do with the word, it could have to do with what I think of with jumping, or it could have to do with the dog jumping on me last weekend. Doesn't matter. These are the things that I come up with. You'll then go to the next word and do the same thing with running. And you'll do this for all 5 of your words. That will then be your second ring. After you have done this for all 5 words, you will go to each of the words in your outer ring and you'll do it again. So in this case, when I think of the word pause, what do I think of? Right? Again, 20, 30 seconds and just mind map. This is what you will go through. And so what I would like you to have on Tuesday are 3 of these maps with up to 4 rings going out that are free association. We will take the rest of it from there, but this will really keep us on track for where we have to go. Now, a couple things that I want to reiterate here that we went over in Tuesday. When you're mind mapping, put down only the keywords, right? Short phrases, images, not sentences. This is a brainstorming, free association, simple activity. Simplicity allows you to go faster and to free associate. Adopt a no filter rule, right? Don't overthink this. Don't judge what you put down. The crazier, the more outlandish, the freer, the better, right? Get as many ideas as possible, right? If you find yourself that you're sitting there and you're thinking, you're probably not free associating. So just put down anything that comes to mind, whether it's related or not. And then build on each idea. That's what you're doing in these secondary levels, right? As you're building on each idea. And as you move further and further away from that center ring, so in this case, going home, you should notice that the words are less and less related. That is the whole point of the exercise, which is why you need to get out into that 4th ring so that we can then start using those ideas for the next step. And to do that, you need to make sure you have a big piece of paper. What I have seen in what they talk about in the book is that if you start getting out to the edge, you'll stop, or it'll be less free. So use a great big piece of paper when you do this. I also think it's important to note what mind mapping is not, right? There's a number of you, I think, that would be saying, okay, this is an assignment and I have to do it correctly, right? This is not an activity where you're supposed to come up with the right answer. Right? This is not a game of connecting ideas in a coherent way. And I have to have this line that goes from my center circle to the 4th ring. And it's really not a map to get where you know you're going. So if I have this idea of where am I supposed to go, and I have to come up with these free association words to get me there, that's not free association, right? This is a way to identify ideas that take you on a path that you haven't considered yet. That's the whole point. Right? And quite honestly, I hope you will embrace this as an opportunity to explore crazy, fun, and unique ideas, right? So what I would like you to have completed is not just that first step, part 1, but also the mind mapping workshop, part 2, is to use the flow, engagement, and energy center circles, connecting those lines and coming up with 3 mind maps, 1 for engagement, 1 for flow, and 1 for energy. I also want to talk a little bit about anchor problems. They made this case in the book, and the case that they used, oddly enough, was about one of the authors who had a shop in his garage, and then he moved, and he had this hard time of clearing out his shop and getting and creating room because he had this idea of the perfect shop. And oddly enough, over the last 3 years, I've been working with a retired school teacher up in New York State on clearing out the end of his garage, which is also a shop. That guy's also known as Pete, my dad. And really what we're trying to do with these anchor problems, right, is recognize these are entrenched problems that are based on a single solution, right? My parents always told me accounting would be a great profession. So since I was younger, I always thought I was going to be an accountant. And then you get here and you go through accounting. And then you study for the CPA, and then you get a job in a firm and you're working a ton of hours and making a ton of money, but you realize you don't like it, right? You only had one option that was available to you, right? And when you only have that one option, Just like when you jump on that first solution, you then close yourself off to new ideas or other options. And it seems unsurmountable. There's only a single answer. And so what I would like you to consider, and there was a section in the book on this, we've talked about gravity problems that can't be solved. Anchor problems can. So I'd like you to determine and be prepared to discuss the differences between an anchor problem and a gravity problem. Because once we can do that, really the idea is to reframe this for prototyping, right? And so if you have that anchor problem, that one solution, we need to move away from that. We can do it by reframing it, by changing the goal, right? By changing the goal from I have to have the perfect shop, just like my dad had, just like I had back at my old house, like the author of the book. And very often when you change the goal, you're making a trade. You're making a trade for what's possible, what's acceptable, for moving away from what is impossible, right? And a lot of times you do this by breaking the process into more manageable parts. Like I'm going to explore something. Rather than jumping in and applying to grad school for a profession, I'm going to explore a club, or I'm going to talk to people that have been in that profession. I'm going to make this more of a manageable process, trying something a little new. So in the idea for my dad, his anchor problem, other than being a borderline hoarder, is I can't get rid of my stuff. Where's it going to go? He, like a lot of people that grew up in the Depression, he just could not tolerate making things go away or going to waste, right? And so over time, we reframed the problem to, we have a lot of stuff that other people might want to use. And that kind of got him excited. Almost as excited is the alternative to that. And the way that it turned out was, how might we create more space and reduce clutter so that Bill can post stuff on Craigslist and Facebook and throw wads of cash on the desk, which he really liked when I started selling old chairs and equipment. So it totally reframed the problem for him. People were getting stuff and they were using his things that he liked. He was getting more space. He got a shop back, obviously, and he was getting paid. And he loved that. Right? So your third mind mapping workshop activity is to reflect on your good time journals, your work and your life views, your path to getting here with us in this course here at Loyola, and identifying the anchor problems that you might be facing, or something that you have faced since beginning college last fall. Remember, COVID and what you have to do for COVID is a gravity problem. We don't have any control over that. But what are some anchor problems that you're facing with? And be prepared to share on Tuesday, and we'll go around and we'll popcorn maybe as an opener. What's your anchor problem? What is that problem keeping you from doing? And how might you reframe it? If you don't have an anchor problem, cheers to you. But I do want you to be able to share what are some of the other challenges that you've considered and how have they been resolved already, right? Which is the other key piece. So for Tuesday in class, want to be very clear on this, continue your good time journals, especially today. Use your engaging, energizing flow activities to complete parts 1 and 2 of the mind map workshop. You're going to complete 3 mind maps using the free association of 4 or 5 words at each level. Complete 4 levels and be prepared to share all 3 in class on pieces of paper on Tuesday. Okay? Identify an anchor problem and be prepared to share that on Tuesday. And we're going to start getting into our public stories. So read the posted article on GANs. So I appreciate you taking a look at this. I hope this provides some clarity. It kind of keeps us moving the way that we should. And again, I do hope you enjoyed some of your time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out on email, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Have a great weekend.